Hey guys, this is Dr. Callahan with Algebra 2 Semester 2, Week 4, Monday. Here are your warm-ups, so go ahead and pause the video and answer them for Week 4, Monday. All right, so looking at this right here, your packet is going to be due. I'm going to give you guys a brand new packet tomorrow. I said it's due Monday. I'm going to go ahead and push it back until Tuesday because I have one more thing for you guys to work on today. And then all guided notes must be written in. So if you have not done that yet, you have the QR code to kind of go back and make up any of your videos between week 1 Monday to week 4 Friday. Okay, and so I'm going to be getting your packets tomorrow and then issuing you guys a brand new packet. We're going to be starting with Unit 4, so just keep that in mind. Today we're going to start off with zeros, odd, evens, and end behavior. It's our very last day of your notes, and that is it. And just keep in mind that your homework is assigned every single Monday. It is going to be due every single time on Sunday by 11 p.m. Your quiz is going to be assigned on Wednesday, and it's still due by 11 p.m. on Sunday. So every single week you will have one homework assignment on Math Excel and then one quiz that's also assigned on Math Excel. So make sure you guys have done that for week 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm updating your grade as we speak. I'm hoping to get this done before you guys leave today in class. So just be patient with that, but it will be updated every single Wednesday. I've been a little bit behind because I had you guys the second semester and this class has been taking a lot of my time, like in terms of preparation and whatnot. And so most teachers will have like maybe 2 classes to teach, you know, like 2 different classes, or maybe at most 3. I have 4 different classes to teach this year. So it's been a little bit crazy in terms of that, but don't worry, it's going to get done. I promise you. Next thing I'm going to show you guys what to do is your Math Excel. So let me go over here. If you don't know how to get onto Math Excel, it's just Math Excel. Washoe County Math Excel, you just type it in the Google bar. Let me share that here. It's the first one that opens up. And once you get on there, you just click sign in. And if you're using the school computer, you're automatically signed in. You will have your classes here. You go to Algebra 2, but once you go to Algebra 2, you don't go to Envision. You click on Math Excel for schools, or else you go to the wrong one. And it looks like this. So then we are done officially with week 3. We're moving on to week 4. And so for week 4, I have your transformation polynomial functions, which we're going to be talking about. And so I'm going to go over here, edit. And I'll just put week 4, algebra 2, semester 2. And it's just simply 10 questions right here, you guys. I'm going to hit next. It is going to be due on the 30th at 11 p.m. You have up to 3 different attempts. And I'm going to go ahead and sign that. Okay, so then for your quiz, we're actually, hold on, create quiz. Oops, that's wrong. For this week, I'm just going to create it right here. It's going to be for week 4, Algebra 2, Semester 2. Your quiz is going to focus on functions that are even, odd, or neither. Maybe they don't have that here. I don't know why they don't have it. Polynomial functions. Let's see if I can find it in another section. No, I don't have it here either. Trig identities. Nope. Rational functions? I don't think I'll have that. Nope. Nope. Okay, so maybe there won't be any even, odd, or and that's okay, because then what I will do is I will just move them over to transformations. That's fine too. We can do that way. And so it's going to be very simple. It's just going to be 5 questions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So just 5 questions on your assessments for this week. And again, it's due on the 30th, 11 p.m. Go back. And we're going to change this to transformation of polynomial functions. There we go. And you'll have 3 different attempts, just like the homework and assign. Okay, so those are the ones for this week. Let's go to the assigned ones right over here. If you take a look at it, here's week 4, your homework, week 4 quiz. If you have not completed your homework for week 3, you do have access to it, so that should not be an issue. I'm just gonna go back to it and change it to the end of the school year. If you do turn it in late, there is a penalty. And that penalty can be between 10 to 40%. And I know you're like, well, is it 40% or is it 10%? If it's going to be like 2 weeks late, it's going to be 10%. If it's going to be like, I don't know, 18 weeks late, it'll be 40%. So really, it's in your best interest if you go ahead and submit that as soon as you can. But this right here is your updated assignments that you should have completed. And also for week 4, you have 2, one for homework, one for your quiz. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint and I'm going to update this right here. Okay. I think now we're good. New share. Let's see. All right, you guys. So today is the 24th. I'm going to finish basically our polynomial sections. We're going to talk about even, odd, neither functions. It is day 3 of talking about this. You need a worksheet from me, which I'm going to give you guys in a second, but you also need to grab a TI-84 calculator. So if you do not have a TI-84 calculator, please come up and grab one. And here are the worksheets that you will need today. There are 2 of them, right? So grab one of each. So one of each. So it'll be 2 pages right there. All right, so looking at this part right here, it says, how do we identify if a function is odd or if it's even? So investigating even and odd functions. Okay, so use your graphing calculator to graph each of the following functions. Draw a rough sketch of the graph under the equation. So right here, you're going to grab your TI-84 calculator and just go ahead and graph it. I'm going to show you guys how to do the very first one. And then after that, I'm going to have you guys do the other 3 on your own. So let me grab mine. So the first one I'm gonna do is x to the 4th power. So you're gonna go to y equals on your graphing calculator. You're gonna go ahead and clear that. Keep in mind that your Algebra 2 class is very different than your Algebra 1 class and your geometry class. In Algebra 1 geometry, freshman, sophomore year, you can use your scientific calculator on your final exam. For Algebra 2, you can't use your scientific calculator. You have to use TI 84. So the important thing about this is your testing question is going to ask you questions that requires you to know how to graph it. And so it's great that if you have a calculator, but if you don't know where the buttons are or how to use them manually, that's going to be a problem. And especially since if you're planning on going to introduction to pre-calculus or trigonometry and pre-calculus next year, you really need to know how to use a TI 84 calculator, because everybody in there will know how to at least use how to graph it, how to find the zeros, how to find the max and min, etc. And so if you're not accustomed to doing that, you're going to be falling behind in those classes. Now, if you're not planning on going to introduction to pre-calculus, fine, but you still need to know it for this class for your common district final. So all you're going to do is you're going to hit X, draw the little caret, you're going to put 4, and then just graph. Okay, so looking at this, that is what your graph looks like. Now I'm going to go back over here and draw it on my paper. So my graph just looks something like this. So is that going to be even or is it odd? Like if you think about the notes that we took last time, remember if something is even, it will reflect about the y axis. Do you remember us talking about that? So if you take a look at this part right here, if I were to flip this over across the y-axis, is it symmetrical? It is. So I could say that it's reflective about the y-axis, so therefore it's even. Another way that you can try this is if you go ahead and plug in a negative x. Okay, so make sure you copy this part down. If you plug in a negative x and it equals the original equation, then you know it's even. That's another thing we talked about. So let's do that. So here's my equation. Anytime you see an x, it's going to be replaced by a negative x to the 4th power. Remember how I said any negative number to an even exponent is always positive? So this is going to be a positive x to the 4th. Is this the original equation? X to the 4th, f of x equals x to the 4th. Yep, it is. So then what can I say? I can say that since f of negative x is equal f of x, the function is even. And I did that by not just graphing to prove that, but I also did that by showing the algebraic work for that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and skip over to number 3, okay? So for number 3, I'm going to go ahead and just see if it's even or odd just by algebra, and then I'll graph it at the end, okay? So you can reverse it however you want. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put f of negative x, okay? And anytime, this one's going to be a little bit more difficult, mainly because you have a bunch of negatives here. Do you guys see that? So that's going to mess you up a little bit. So you have a negative 3, parenthesis, minus 2, parenthesis, to the 4th. Inside there, I'm going to put a negative x and a negative x. Now remember, since both of these have like 6 and 4 as exponent, they're even. So immediately you know it's going to be a positive, okay? So then a positive x to the 6 times a negative 3 is a negative 3x to the 6. A positive x times a negative 2 is a negative 2x to the 4th, okay? So then I ask myself, did this give me the original equation? Yes, it did. So then because f of negative x is equal to f of x, this is considered to be even. But just to check this, let's go ahead and graph it, okay? So now with your graphing calculators, I'm going to go ahead and graph negative 3x to the 6 minus 2x to the 4th. So y is equal to, I'm going to clear it. You need to be careful where the negative button is. It's not the minus button. So negative is on the very bottom. You see where the little red dot is that I'm pushing? Negative 3x to the 6. Make sure you grab the little triangle to the 6. Then you want to push your right cursor to move your little cursor down from the exponent. So negative 3x to the 6 minus 2x to the 4th. Minus, for the minus button, you could push the one on the right side. 2x to the 4th. And then graph. Okay, so this is my graph. It's like a parabola, but it's like a sad-face parabola. It's going down. So then over here, I'm just gonna go ahead and graph it and draw it. It looks like that. And does it look like it's reflected about the y-axis? Keep in mind that your y-axis is this vertical line. And yeah, it looks like they're symmetrical. So this is reflect about the y-axis. So indeed, it is going to be even. All right, let's take a look at the one in the middle, okay? So for the one in the middle, let's do f of negative x. I'm going to give you guys a moment, and I want you guys to go ahead and try this one on your own. All right, so let's take a look at this. You have 2 times negative x to the 4th plus 2 times negative x squared. Given the fact that both of the exponents are a 4 and a 2, you know that you're going to end up with a positive exponent or a positive number. So your positive number times the 2 is a positive 2x to the 4th. Your positive negative x is going to be a positive x times 2. So that's going to be positive 2x squared. Now, looking at this, comparing it to the original equation, is it the same? Yeah, it is. I wish this was actually going to be an odd, but it's not. So this one is also even. And interesting enough, if you take a look at the next one right here, if you plug it in, negative 2 times negative x squared plus 5, this part right here is also even. So it's a positive. So it's a negative 2x squared. Your 5 doesn't even change. So this is also an even. So unfortunately, everything is even, but you know, sometimes it just happens like that. But it is even. Okay, then what I want you guys to do is all the above functions are called even functions. What type of symmetry does a graph have? What is special about the exponent in each term of the function? What happens when you evaluate f of negative x for each function? So I want you guys to take about 3 minutes and answer the following 3 questions. You guys, let's go and take a look on the right side. Okay, so now we're going to investigate odd functions. So using your graphing calculators, let's graph each of the function, draw a rough sketch of the graph under the equation. All right, so the first one I have is f of x equals x to the 3rd. And notice all of these are odd, okay? Like these numbers here are like odd. If you're like, what's odd? Odd is like 3, 1, 5, 7, 9, etc. Okay, and remember, if you multiply a negative number by an odd function, it is going to be a negative number. So it's unlike even where it's positive, this will definitely be odd. So it's going to be a negative number. So let's grab our TI-84 calculators and let's go ahead and graph this. So here's our graphing calculator. We're going to go to y equals, let's clear that out. We're going to put x to the 3rd power and then hit graph. So it has like this weird little snake squiggly shape. It starts on the left and it ends up on the right. And so then what you're going to do is you're going to go back over to here. So this is your squiggly shape. And we're going to go back over here. And then we're going to go ahead and just draw this. And again, your graph starts from the left and it goes up to the right. So to determine if something is going to be odd, remember I said you have to flip it about the x-axis and you have to flip it about the y-axis. And I know you're like, well, what does that mean? It also means that it is reflective about the origin. Reflect about the origin. And so what that essentially means is you just flip it on the x-axis, flip it on the y-axis. Let me explain what that means though. So I'm going to start off my graph right here in blue, right there, okay? If I flip this over the x-axis right here, you guys, my graph is then going to be, let's see, it's going to look something like this green graph. Do you guys see that? It's just a symmetry to that. But then I got to flip it over the y-axis. So I'm going to flip it one more time. Okay, there's the y-axis, flip it one more time. And if I flip it one more time, guess what? My green graph will look just like my red graph. And do you see how they all just match up like that? So that is reflective about the origin. And this one will just be an odd function. Now, another way of telling this besides graphing is by using algebra. So if I were to use algebra on this, I would replace my f of x with a negative x. And so I have a negative x to the third power. And because the 3 is odd, it ends up being a negative number. So my answer is just negative 3 to the third power. So you're asking yourself, okay, is that equal to the original f of x? Question mark. If it is, it will be even. Nope, it's not. It's not equal to the original because the original is a positive x to the third, and I ended up with a negative x to the third. So what is it that I ended up with? I ended up with a negative f of x, that negative being on the outside. And it's basically saying it's f of x, but it's just with an opposite sign. So therefore, this is an odd function. All right, I'm going to skip over to the third one right here. So with the third one, let me show you how to do this one by algebra first. I'm going to do f of negative x, okay? Anytime you see a x, I'm going to replace it with a negative x. So I have a negative to the fifth minus 3 to the third plus 4 parentheses. And I'm going to go ahead and replace that with a negative x, negative x, negative x. And I also know that these are the odd functions, so that means this is going to give me a negative answer. So I'm going to have a negative x to the fifth minus 3 times negative x to the third plus 4 times negative x. And if I multiply it out, double negative means it's a positive x to the fifth. Negative 3 times a negative is a positive 3x cubed. 4 times negative x is a negative 4x. So after I replace everything with a negative x, I ask myself, is this the original function? Question mark. No. Why is that not the original function? Because my signs are different. I have a positive, positive, negative, whereas my original, I had a negative, negative, positive. Do you guys see that? And so it's obviously not even, because if they match, it will be even, like the last 4 examples. So then is this going to be a negative f of x? And what that means is you just take everything here and you just put an opposite sign. So negative x to the fifth will be a positive x to the fifth. Negative 3x cubed is a positive 3x cubed. Positive 4x is a negative 4x. Does that match? Yes, it does. And so you can say since f of negative x equals a negative f of x. I know they look very similar and they're really not. They're completely 2 different things. You can say your function is odd. Okay, I'm going to give you guys about 2 minutes. You're going to go ahead and do the second and third one. You can graph it or you can use algebra, whichever one is easiest for you. All right, so let's take a look at the second one. So for the second one, I'm just gonna go ahead and graph it, mainly because it looks like it's fairly easy to graph. So I'm gonna go to my y equals. I'm gonna go ahead and graph it as x to the third minus x. So I'm gonna put x, whoops, that's the wrong one. Okay, x to the third minus x. So make sure you guys know the difference between the x button and the minus button. And also make sure you know where the cursor is, because I forgot to push that down. So minus x. And then I graph it. It kind of looks like this weird little squiggly line again, except it goes up a little bit further. So if I were to go ahead and draw this is what it looks like. It looks something like this, except it goes a little bit further than that. Okay, and so remember, if something is odd, you have to flip it about the x-axis, and you have to flip it about the y-axis. So the way that you test this out is you start off with one side of it. I'm actually going to start off with the other side, because I did this once last time. So let's try it differently this time. So let's start off with maybe just this side right here, okay, in the green. If I flip that about the x-axis, here's my x-axis from left to right, I will have to literally put this right over here, okay? So then my blue one will be there we go, right there, okay? And my picture is not perfect because I'm not an artist, but that's okay. Okay, so there's the x-axis. Now, if I flip that one more time over the y-axis, so then this is my symmetry. And guess what? Does it match perfectly? It does. So this is going to be an odd function, okay? With number 4, I'm going to go ahead and just show you guys how to do this with algebra. So I'm going to do f of negative x, which means anytime I see an x, I'm going to replace it with a negative x to the third minus 5 times negative x, okay? And for those of you guys who are sleeping in class, just keep in mind that in order to pass this class, you don't have to be good at math, but you do have to do the work. So if you're not willing to do that, then your grade will be reflected upon it, you know, so just keep that in mind. So then here, I'm going to have a negative 2 times negative x to the third. This means that everything is going to be negative. So that negative times that negative 2 is going to be a positive 2x to the third. Negative x times that negative 5 is a positive 5x. So is this f of x? No, this is negative f of x, which means everything from the original equation becomes opposite. So opposite of negative 2, positive. Negative 5, positive 5. And so then, because these two matches, I can say that f of x, f of negative x, is equal to negative f of x, which is just odd. All right, so then I'm gonna give you guys a moment, 3 minutes. Go ahead and answer the following questions. What type of symmetry does an odd function have? What is special about the exponents of each term in the odd function? And what happens when you evaluate f of negative x for each of the functions? So take a moment and go ahead and take a look at the next part right here. And I want you guys to just take a moment and look at the graph and then fill in the blanks right here. And then when you're done with that, go over to number 1 and also to number 3 right here and tell me, is it even, odd, neither? And then make sure you finish drawing the pictures right here. So just go ahead and finish this for the rest of class. So for your exit ticket today, you're going to go ahead and take a look at week 4 Monday. There's your QR code. This is a link that you guys can go ahead and type in as well. Other than that, have a great week. See you guys later.